All cycling lovers know that Eddy Merckx is the best rider in history. He conquered the best race in the world on 5 occasions, but it could have been a 6th. Today, we'll tell you how a punch deprived the best rider in the world to win his 6th Tour. Do you want to know what happened in the 1975 Tour de France? Then stay here with me as I'll tell you. Everything was under control, or so it seemed. Van Impe was going to overtake Thévenet before passing through the banner of the last kilometer and was going to take the stage victory. The French rider had faltered, and Merckx was preparing to make one of his usual finishes full of strength and managed to reduce the distance that separated them. But in the final 3 meters there, before reaching the finish line, the leader of the race received a punch in the right side that left him without air. A spectator from the crowd that packed the harbor ramps had beaten Eddy Merckx. He would give up 15 seconds at the finish line, but he would be able to lead by another 34 thanks to a Merckx that arrived at the finish line totally exhausted.
When he won a stage up in the north of France, now we are down in the far hot south. He must be feeling confident. The last time the race finished here, it was the little Frenchman Charles Motte who won. He's now part of the Tour de France organisation. Now, watch the flicks here. It's a difficult approach. They go right, then they swing left. And Lance Armstrong really should be claiming second place here to line up for the finish. He wants it. Now, has he got it? Yes, indeed he has. He's got back into second now. He's forced Uchikov to take the lead. Now, Armstrong will sit there as long as he can. It's a very difficult sprint now, a long, straight sprint. And surely Armstrong feels he can win this now. Uchikov does as well, I think. He's turned off. He's now waiting for Armstrong to make his move. And Uchikov has ridden the Tour de France twice before. He's finished both times. He's never won a stage. Armstrong has never finished the Tour de France, but he has won a stage. And he's concentrating. He's waiting till the last possible minute here to take on Sergei Uchikov. Now he's going. Armstrong is now coming, but Uchikov has a kick. And look at this. Sergei Uchikov has got... And I don't think Armstrong can get round him. He's making absolutely no impression. Lance Armstrong is going to be beaten, and Uchikov for the Ukraine gets the victory on this stage of the Tour de France, and that is absolutely amazing. As with so much in this man's life, even those early days were filled with drama and tragedy. Perhaps the darkest day of Lance Armstrong's life prior to his diagnosis with cancer came on July the 18th, 1995, on the Col de Porte d'Aspet. At 11:31, Radio Tour reported a crash on the descent of the Pyrenean mountain, the Col de Porte d'Aspet. It involved 6 riders. One of those riders, Dante Retze, plunged 30 feet into a ravine, yet he escaped with relative minor injuries. Fabio Casartelli was not so lucky. On arrival at Tarbes Hospital, doctors fought to save his life. At 3 o'clock, the race organisation announced the passing of the Olympic champion, who leaves a wife and a young baby. And the result was the Tour organisation immediately called, of course, for 2-minute silence at the stop. The Tour de France feels, quite rightly so, it's lost a member of its own family. So the arrival in Pau, the team have spread out. There'll be no winner of this stage today, and indeed there'll be no results either. The general classification will simply remain unchanged. This day did not exist as a competitive day in the Tour de France. The Motorola team freewheel over the line. Andrea Perrone being allowed to cross over first as the Italian on the squad and the roommate of Casartelli. The main field, they come in at around about 15 or 20 seconds. That's certainly a very respectful distance. 2 days later, Armstrong made a personal statement and dedication to the memory of Fabio Casartelli. Could well be the move, and in fact Armstrong is making a move right now. We're on the climb here of the Côte de Villeneuve, and Armstrong is going clear. Now we've just received a time check that the bunch is 5 minutes behind containing Indurain, so Armstrong knows now that the race will be decided from this front group, and he's trying to force that decision even to a finer result. There's no more hills of note now before the finish, except of course the little climb up to the line. So if Armstrong can get a gap and hold it, he's hovering around about 40 seconds and it's looking good right now. He's not panicking, he's holding his rhythm. He waited for the right moment, he chose the most brilliant place to launch the attack. Even so, it was still a long way to go to the finish, but he went and he had more than 15 miles to ride. Armstrong, one last check, and then he points to the sky, he puts his finger up, number one. And Lance Armstrong now is not just winning for himself or the team, he's also winning for Fabio Casartelli. That was a rather dodgy corner there, but still he's trying to pull out the little seconds which could make the big difference here. Oh, and look, oh! Belocchi's gone down and Armstrong has taken to the grass. I hope Belocchi is not hurt. That was an awful crash. Armstrong has gone. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Armstrong is now crossing the course. I have never seen that in my life as Lance Armstrong is back in the group.
Front. What happened there, Phil, was he locked up his back wheel, and as he went sideways, the tyre popped off, and then he just couldn't control it. He was sliding on the metal.
It was the hot top.